only had the savages most likely changed her, but they'd probably done so in the most excruciating way possible and thrived on her agony as well as her powerful hunter blood. He wouldn't have turned her. He would never have let their bond progress that far, but the idea of someone else doing it made him want to tear the heads from every pathetic human scurrying past him. Depending on how far Joseph's cruel transition of vampires into savages had progressed with Simone, it could already be too late to save her. She could already be a savage. Plus, from what he'd seen of the pristine little hunter, he doubted she'd be able to survive what Joseph and the savages would do to her with her sanity intact. She'd reminded him of a doll when they first met. He imagined she was a broken one by now, but he still had to try and save her.
Turn around. It's not too late for you. There is no reason you should sacrifice everything you've known for a woman you kissed once and whose kind you despise.
His steps slowed until he stopped. A thin woman pushing a shopping cart that clattered in and out of the cracks nearly crashed into him. She gave him the finger and cursed him with a mixture of English and some other language that he couldn't quite place before shoving her cart around him. Standing in the middle of the sidewalk, Killean considered what he was doing. He owed Simone nothing. Their relationship hadn't progressed to a point where he would be lost without her. He could live out the rest of his life without her and remain the same, or nearly the same, as he'd felt like crawling out of his skin since their kiss. At night, his dreams were plagued by the beautiful hunter and the things he wanted to do to her. Their kiss had been the first time in nearly 100 years a woman aroused him. His dreams had left him hard and on the verge of climbing out of bed to search for her. He spent the rest of those nights lying in bed, cursing himself, fate, and her. Then she was taken, and the dreams stopped because he barely slept anymore. In the time since they captured her, he'd done nothing more than pass out for fitful bouts of sleep before rising to search for her again. Worry consumed him for a woman he didn't know. Their relationship hadn't progressed far, and he may be able to go on for centuries without her, but he could never forsake his mate to a fate worse than death.
But sacrificing yourself for her.
He didn't know what else to do, or how else to get her back. In the week since Joseph captured the hunters, the Alliance had hunted for them, but they'd smacked into nothing but dead ends. There was still a chance Killean could save her from becoming a savage, but if she stayed with Joseph much longer, that chance would vanish. That knowledge propelled him into motion once more. Fuck. He owed Simone nothing, yet he continued until he tracked down the human he sought in an alleyway. Killean slid away from the dim glow of the streetlights to stand in the shadows cast by the two buildings while he watched the human he'd marked for death. This man and 9 others were on his list of possible victims. He didn't plan to kill them all before seeking out Joseph, but he wanted options if it did become necessary for him to kill so many. Once he decided this was the course of action he would take to find Simone, he spent a few hours yesterday researching some of the worst of humanity. This man, Arlo Holt, was arrested for rape 5 days ago. It was his 6th arrest for the crime, and yesterday it was the 6th time his victim dropped the charges. Killean didn't know what Arlo did to those women to get them to change their minds, but he suspected it was nothing good. And those were only the 6 women who reported him. Killean was sure there were more who hadn't. Not only was rape one of Arlo's favorite pastimes, but he also had a penchant for assault and battery, robbery, drug possession, drug dealing, and DUIs. If he had to kill, then Killean would at least keep it to the worst forms of human life. It was a small piece of twisted moral judgment, and he was the last vampire who should be passing judgment on anyone, but he could live with himself if he stuck to men such as Arlo. Arlo spoke in a low whisper with a young kid who resembled a walking skeleton instead of a human being. They stood between 2 dumpsters overflowing with trash and rats that didn't care about the presence of the humans. The skeleton handed Arlo some money and received a small bag of white substance in return. The skeleton slunk away with his head bowed. Arlo started toward Killean and was nearly on top of him before he realized Killean was there. The man in his mid-20s came to an abrupt halt when he spotted Killean.
"I'm closed for the night, buddy."
Arlo's racing heart belied the bravado of his tone.
"I'm not here for what you're selling,"
Killean replied. Arlo's hands fell to the